The alarm cuts through my chamber before I even open my eyes, and I know before anyone speaks that something has broken the silence of 300 days. My guards do not simply enter my chamber. They never do that unless the empire itself is shaking. I rise from my seat of rest with my hearts pounding harder than they have since the day I lit a funeral fire for my only daughter. I am Vornthal, ruler of the Kreisi Dominion, and I have not known a full night of rest since the Ninth Fleet went dark above the human world called Kesserin IV. 40 warships. Gone in less than an hour. My daughter Isira commanded that fleet, and when her flagship stopped answering, my empire told me she was lost. I believed them. I built her a monument of black stone in the palace gardens. I told myself the humans, these short-lived, stubborn little creatures we once called insects, with delusions of greatness, had ended her life, along with the lives of thousands of my finest soldiers. Grief like that does not fade, it hardens. Mine hardened into something sharper than any blade my forges could shape. I gathered 3 star systems worth of ships and soldiers, enough firepower to erase the human species from every record that remembers them. I told my generals we would finish what Kesserin IV started, except this time, it would be humanity that vanished from the stars, not my people. That is the fleet I am supposed to be reviewing this morning. That is the war I am supposed to be finishing. Instead, my chief guard, a broad-shouldered soldier named Doran, tells me a single unarmed shuttle has entered our home system, broadcasting a Kreisi distress signal that has not been used in over 300 days. The exact signal my daughter's flagship used the day it disappeared. My first thought is that this is a trick. Humans are clever in ways I did not respect until it cost me an entire fleet. I order the shuttle intercepted, scanned for weapons, scanned for anything that could harm my throne room, and when nothing dangerous is found, I still do not trust it. I stand at the top of my hall, hands gripping the arms of my throne so hard my knuckles pale, as the doors open, and a single figure is escorted inside. For a moment, I cannot breathe. It is Isira. She walks without chains. She walks without guards forcing her forward. She walks the way she used to walk into this very hall as a commander, returning from victory. Shoulders straight, chin level, eyes steady. But something about those eyes has changed. There is a weight behind them that was not there before, like she has seen something too large for words to hold. I rise so quickly I knock my own throne backward, and the sound of it crashing against the stone floor echoes through the hall louder than any alarm. Every guard in the room tenses, weapons half raised, unsure whether to protect me or to fall back in shock. I do not care about any of them in this moment. I only care about the impossible sight standing before me. Isira. Her name comes out of me like something breaking loose after being trapped for 300 days. Father. Her voice is steady, calmer than mine has ever been in a crisis. I need you to listen to me before you do something that cannot be undone. I want to embrace her. I want to demand answers. I want to call for healers, for interrogators, for anyone who can tell me whether the creature standing in front of me is truly my daughter, or some clever imitation built by an enemy who has already humiliated my empire once. All of these urges crash into each other at the same time, and for several long seconds I simply stand there, frozen, staring at a daughter I buried in ceremony but never in truth. Clear the hall, I finally order. My voice does not sound like my own. Doran hesitates. No commander leaves their king alone with an unknown variable, even one wearing a familiar face. But something in my tone tells him this is not a request, and slowly, reluctantly, the guards withdraw, the great doors sealing shut behind them, until it is only Isira and myself standing in the vast silence of the throne hall. Tell me everything, I say. Tell me why I mourned a daughter who was never dead. Tell me why my fleet burned above Kesserin IV. She does not flinch from the question. She never has. Not since she was young, and I first noticed the fire in her that made her different from the other children of court. She steps closer, and for the first time, I notice the humility on her face. Not weakness, But something new, something that looks almost like understanding. The Ninth Fleet was not destroyed by superior weapons, she says. It was destroyed because we underestimated the humans, and they let us walk directly into a trap built from our own arrogance. They studied how we fight. They studied every formation, every strategy we have used for 100 years, and then they turned it against us faster than any of our commanders could adjust. My hands tighten at my sides. And you? How does the commander of a destroyed fleet return alive and unshackled 300 days later, walking freely into my throne room? Because they boarded my flagship, she says, not to loot it, not to destroy what remained of it, but because their commander wanted to speak with me directly. He could have ended my life in that moment. Instead, he offered me something I did not expect. What could a human offer that you would accept over your own freedom to return home immediately? A choice, she says. He asked me to see how they live before I decided how the story should end. I have spent the last 300 days among them, Father. Not in a cell, not in chains, in their homes, in their meeting halls, watching how they treat each other, how they treat their own wounded, how they treat prisoners they had every right to destroy. I want to reject everything she is telling me. I want to call it manipulation, some clever human strategy designed to soften my resolve before the true invasion begins. But there is something in the way she speaks, something raw and unguarded, that I have not heard from her since she was a child, telling me the truth about a broken vase rather than blaming a servant. They are not the mindless savages we were told they are, she continues. I watched a medic risk her own safety to save a wounded soldier of our own kind, days after that same soldier had gravely wounded someone she loved. I asked her why. She told me that ending violence sometimes means being the one who refuses to continue it, even when every instinct tells you otherwise. That is weakness, I say, though even as the words leave my mouth, they feel hollow, worn thin by 300 days of grief I never had to carry if this creature had simply come home sooner. Strength is proven through victory, not mercy. Is it? She asks, and there is no anger in her question, only a quiet challenge that reminds me painfully of myself in my younger years. You built a monument for a daughter you believed was gone. You gathered 3 systems of warships to avenge a loss that never truly happened. Tell me, Father, in the moment you saw me walk through those doors, what did you feel? Rage that humanity had lied to you? Or relief that your daughter was standing in front of you again? I do not answer immediately, because the honest answer shames the warfleet currently waiting for my order 3 days from launch. They sent you back, I say instead, choosing to focus on the fact rather than the feeling. Why would an enemy return their greatest hostage rather than use you as leverage against me? Because their leader, a woman named Elena Whitfield, told me something I have not been able to forget, Isira says. She said that if they kept me as leverage, they would only be proving that fear is the only language worth speaking. She said real strength means giving your enemy a reason to choose peace instead of forcing them into it. I turn away from her, walking slowly toward the tall windows overlooking the capital, where thousands of my ships sit docked and ready, engines humming with the promise of the war I have spent 300 days preparing. Somewhere beyond those windows, beyond the edge of this system, an invasion fleet, larger than anything my empire has assembled in a generation, waits for my final command. I have already lost you once, I say quietly, more to myself than to her. I built an empire's worth of grief around your death. And now you ask me to abandon everything I have prepared because a human commander showed you mercy. I am not asking you to abandon your strength, Isira says, stepping beside me at the window. I am asking you to redirect it, send an envoy instead of an armada, give them the same chance they gave me. If they prove untrustworthy, you will still have every ship you have gathered, and I will stand beside you without hesitation when that war begins. But if there is even the smallest chance for something better than the death of thousands more soldiers, do we not owe it to ourselves to find out? I think of the monument in the garden, carved from black stone, meant to honor a daughter who never actually died. I think of the mothers and fathers across my empire who will build similar monuments if I send that invasion fleet forward, and it meets an enemy capable of destroying 40 warships in less than an hour. I think of Elena Whitfield, a name I have never heard before this moment, choosing to send my daughter home instead of using her as a weapon against me. 3 days, I say finally. The fleet launches in 3 days, unless I give another order. Then give the order, Isira says. Not for their sake, for yours. You do not have to trust them completely. You only have to be willing to find out if trust is even possible before you commit thousands of lives to a war that started because of a misunderstanding neither side has fully examined. I stand at that window for a long time, watching the ships that could end an entire species, thinking about the daughter standing beside me, who was supposed to be lost forever. Slowly, I turn toward the door and call for Doran. Recall the invasion fleet, I say, and the words feel strange leaving my mouth after 300 days of preparing for the opposite command. Prepare a diplomatic vessel instead. My daughter will accompany it. Doran hesitates only a moment before bowing and moving to carry out the order. I do not know yet whether humanity will honor what my daughter believes about them. I do not know whether Elena Whitfield's mercy was genuine or simply a clever strategy I have not yet uncovered. But for the first time in 300 days, I am not standing at the edge of vengeance. I am standing at the edge of something I have not allowed myself to consider in a very long time. A chance for peace. And as I watch my daughter walk beside me toward the doors of the hall, alive and unbroken despite everything she has seen, I understand that losing her once was enough to teach me the one lesson 3-star systems of warships never could. Some battles are not worth winning, if winning means losing everything that makes victory worth having.